Hi, today we're going to talk about this unit which I just received from the mail. It came from Ukraine, specifically Kiev, and is made by HARTBLEI. This is a prototype adapter they've made for the GFX camera and a Mamiya lens. The Mamiya lens is for an RX67 camera. They made some amazing lenses. We'll go into that in a minute, but that's what this fits on. So this is a shift adapter. What we have here is a shift, and you can see the degrees of how much shift we can actually get. As I spin this around, here you are, up to 12 millimeters of shift from this thing. Then all these little things, I call it, nicknamed it the porcupine, because all these things sticking out of it, give you possibilities of turning things. It also has a Fotga follow focus on it, so that we can do it. This, as you can see, has a bellow focus. So the focusing is done with a bellow in the back. All right, so let's start off by putting a lens on it. And now we'll talk about this lens. This lens here is the Mamiya 75 millimeter shift lens. Now what's amazing about this shift is that it's got 20 millimeters on either side of shift. As you can see here, shift from there to there. It red lines at 17, so that 2 times 17, 34 millimeters of shift on this thing. Pretty amazing. So let's take this and stick this on, well, not stick it on, but screw it on possibly. Here we go. And this goes with, I never like these rings that much because I'm always scared that there's no stop, there's no click, so you're just hoping you've got it in the right place. Anyway, okay, so what is unique also about this, we have another part of HARTBLEI on it, and this is this thing here on the top. This is a little bracket, which is for the depth of field lock. Anyway, this is you have to understand, there is no other adapter like this in the world. They've been progressively making better ones, and I am the lucky person to have been chosen by them to have one of them, to test it, to see what I think of it, and to give input. My first input actually has been on these screws here, because they're all similar. So you've got three different layers. Actually, let's put a camera on it. It'll look even better, make more sense to us all if we've got this. The GFX 100. All right, so we tighten it down. First thing, you notice I have one tight, two tights. You can hold it down with one screw. Two tights is heavy. This is a really heavy lens. I don't know how many kilos it weighs, but I know that the adapter lens, the arca-swiss cube head and a graphite tripod in total weighs, with the camera on, 8.7 kilos. Don't know what that is in pound. Multiply by 2.2462 and you'll have pounds. All right, now this is turned here. Let's spin this around to this side here, because I always like to keep my levers on this side, and then I pull this over here. All right, so now that's locked down, we're here. There are 3 layers. This one layer, the first ring, you can turn the whole thing down. So actually what we're going to do is you're going to use the shift here. The shift is going to go down, as you can see. This is dropped down. So now when we turn it and open it, the shift, we can reverse the shift, so the shift is now up or down, depending on which way you look at it, to reverse it. Once you've got that set up, and if you've got it in the wrong direction, you want to bring back the camera. You use these, and then you swing back the camera. This relocates the camera back in the right direction. Then another little other feature, you've got these two in the back here. In case you want to be shooting a portrait with it, you can set up the camera portrait and still maintain all the functionalities that way. So this or upside down or whatever. The beautiful thing of this is a super rotator in the sense that it can turn 360 degrees continuously, no stopping, no problem. Of course, there are no electronics in this, it's all mechanical, so it's not a problem from that point of view. All right, so now let's have a look at this. We want to try and straighten this out to put the old red dots here. I lined them all up. These are all pretty much lined up so that we know where to have it. But when we actually shoot, what we do is we make sure the arca-swiss cube is on level, and it is already. So what we're going to do now is to make the cameras level, look through there and see if the camera's level there. So that's okay, this is ready. We're going to shoot this at 16, aperture 16. Why? It's because in real estate we need depth of field. Now, ideally speaking, this is not perfect for this lens because there is some vignetting at 16. It's best to be shoot at 8, but if we can't shoot at 8, we have to suffer more. Well, I'll go into that in a minute when we look at it on the screen. In the meantime, let's look at this. Okay, Lightroom is okay there. All the images are going to pop up on Lightroom. Now, let's worry about taking pictures. We're going to do 2 rows. We're to top row and bottom row. We're not going to do a middle row, which I normally do for sake of expediency, but this can do it just in 2 rows, from top to bottom and left to right. All right, so we're already on the bottom here. Now what we need to do is focus the camera. So I'm going to look inside here, take my arca, I've put a focusing screen on the table there for us, so that we have that there, and we can just zoom in on that here, and then give ourselves a focus. Here we go, turning this wheel here, bang, there's a good nice focus. All right, done. Let's level the camera off here again quickly. This is so good, it's a lovely piece of equipment. All right, so to zoom out, here we go. So now we're going to do the shift. And now this is the shift, which is the amazing part. This thing shifts this much. Look at how much this is shifting over here. That just keeps on shifting all the way 20 millimeter one side. Now I actually go 20 and I do 1-2 turns, which roughly puts it correctly at the end because we don't want to overdo it. Now when I do this, we will see inside on this camera that we are having a little bit of vignetting coming through. Let me look here and see. This is on the dark side here. You don't see it. So let's go on the other side and then see where the vignetting comes in at 16. And you'll probably see it coming in any moment now. Somewhere here on the left side we have some vignetting. Let's not worry about that, because once we stitch them, you see vignette on both sides here. There it is, there to start. Once we stitch them together, because we take a center picture, it'll actually compensate and get rid of that vignetting, so we don't have a problem. All right, so now we have this set up this way. We're all shooting at manual. We need to adjust the exposure level a little bit here. Okay. Oh, this is at 500. No, we don't need 500. There we go. All right, 4-second exposure to shoot. I have it on a timer. This is shooting our first quadrant. This is the upper right-hand quadrant. So now we're going to go and spin this over to the center. We're going to take our center picture. And here you can see the first picture has already come on. As you can see, it has a little bit of vignetting on the top there, but we're not going to worry about that. We shoot the next picture over here. And then we keep on cranking this over till the other side. Here we are at the other side. Turn it back a little bit. There we go. So we have our top layer coming in. All right. This is our top layer coming in. Now what we're going to do, we need to reverse this to up to the top. So what we do is open this up here, take this around, spin this whole thing. We've got the level here, and we're just going to set it so that it is level somewhere. There it is. It's level. Tighten it down. This is tight. And now we open up the second layer, the second ring. This one here. All right. Here we go. That's there. Now we need the level. It's at level. Close this all down. I've asked them to make these heads in different shapes so that you know them when you're feeling them. You can work this way and you know this is the square one, the rectangular one, the triangular one, so you know where it's easier, because the porcupine does get you a bit confused, or at least me. So we've got that down there, we set it up, it's level. We're going to take our number 4 picture, and now we screw, this is on the top, we screw this over roughly. I guess it about by when the barrel, these two barrels are even, that's about center. It doesn't really matter if it's exactly in the center or not. And then we continue over to the other side, which is on this side here. This is done all the way to the end, little screwing left, there we go, and then we take the last picture. So now we have all these pictures here which are going to come through, and we are going to stitch those together. So let's wait for this to come in. There it is. Command A, select them all, Command M, and it's doing a stitch. While it's doing the stitch, I'm going to set this lens back up to the center and then take it off. And I'm going to show you, we're going to make a comparison. All right, so this is off. We open this up on this side here. We swing this around. We look at the level. It's level. We find our screws here. Close these down. Open up the next set. 1, 2, and swing this back. Level. We do this where it's level, 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 level. There it is. We close it. There we are. We're back to normal. We can bring this up all the way. It's a little stiff. It's a new adapter. Well, it's a new adapter. It's a prototype adapter, which I just got. So, all right, this is good. So what we're going to do now is going to go, yes, go ahead for the stitch and that. And now I'm going to remove the camera. Put this here. I'm going to take this off too, the whole thing, whole adapter, everything. Off she goes. Put that out of the way. And now we're going to mount onto it a Fuji. Whoops, get it in the right place. There we are. Okay. This lens here is a Fuji 3264 lens. And what we're going to do is, once this image has stitched together, we're going to copy the same and trying to make the exact same cut. So we can see later the comparison. We put this on 16. This is about 40 there, I think is roughly there. This image has stitched together. Here's the picture. Let's look at it in full. All right, so now I'm going to try and stitch this one here together about the same amount, which is about there. So I'm going to put my focus on there. The focus is working, and now the picture needs to exposure is a little bit off here. Adjust that. Okay, and then we take a picture at 16. All right. Now, a lot of people will say to me, said, okay, you're comparing them, maybe there's no perspective distortion difference between the two, but you have much more resolution in this picture than you do in that, because you stitched it from 9 pictures, therefore it's a much bigger picture. We can compensate for that. Fuji came out this last year actually now, with a great little pink here, and have a look at this. I'm going to push this button down here, and what does it say? It is a pixel shift multi-shot position. So what I can do now is I can actually take this camera and then shoot a multi-picture there. This one will give me 16 pictures. We'll stitch those together in their software and then get a high resolution picture too. Let's not waste any time here at the moment. What we're going to do now is go into my office, look at them and make a comparison. All right? See you in the office. Thank you. Okay, we made it to my office. Keep things simple. I've downloaded everything already. Stitched them together so we can just take it from there right away. All right, so let's look at the 6 pictures that we shot. Here they are. 6 of them together, and we stitch those. Okay, with these stitches, let's have a look at some of the problems which we encounter. If I go over here, I can see vignetting. Quite a bit of it in the corner here. If we move across slowly, we'll see vignetting down here. We'll move across the other place. We'll see vignetting now quite seriously up in this corner. Just to zoom in to show you how much we get. That is, we've run out of the circle of light. We've run out of real estate. We get vignetting. But now that we've looked at that, let's look at the stitched image together here. And here we have it. This stitched image has no problems with the vignetting. It was able to compensate for it because it has that middle image from top and bottom to cover for it. So there's no vignetting at all anywhere. But the first thing I look at when I look at this picture, I say, oh my God, it's got curvature. It's got curvature in the side. My beam are not so straight. This is rather an old tropical house, but not that crooked. So let's make a comparison. We wanted to make a comparison with the size. This is a 375 megabit picture. So what I did before, as I mentioned to you, I took, I did a stitch, I did a pixel shift, made one picture out of a pixel shift, which is this one here. Let's put these two together, and that is 407. Okay, so let's look at them next to each other. And the first thing we see is that that beam here is straight, sort of, and here is completely curved. So that's a no-no, which we've received there. Can that be fixed? Absolutely. But it's not good. Okay. Now, because I made these the same size, so when I zoom in, things are similar. As you noticed, I've shot this at 40. It turned out to be 43, so I'm a little short on real estate on one side. This is a bit wider, but they're pretty similar. But once I zoom in on it, let's take this one here as an example and zoom in onto that. Okay, this is there. Let's zoom out and select the other image, which we will then zoom in on also. So now we have the two images. This image here is the pixel stack. Focus, not so good. Let's look at the focus of the stitched image of the 75. Wow, what a difference. This is really good, that's not so good. So something's come about, which was nothing to do with this segment, but I will probably do one on it because everybody's talking about pixel shifting and all of that wonderful thing with the ibis moving over. I shot this 4 times just to make sure that there was not a problem with my shooting, and it did not come out sharp. Now, I once mentioned in a few segments I had dropped once my Fuji. I've never seen any problems with anything I've shot with all my lenses, but maybe this is a problem. If you guys out there see that there is no problem, let me know. Anyway, I have a problem with that. It's not that quite clear, but it's good to have here so that we were able to just immediately see that there is a straightness problem which is involved. Now, let's look at these. Let's not look at focus sharpness, because I did sharpen this image here, which it came out of with the HARTBLEI. I had to do a post sharpness. When I do the Fuji, you don't need to, because it does that automatically on import. So to be fair, we just stitched them together and we have a problem. So look at it otherwise. Is there any difference, can you see here, in the perspective? This is what this is about. Is das worth it or not? We did a segment on that. I don't see that much difference here. Okay, let's move on to something else then. Once we've got that done, let's look at the overall sharpness on the edges. So I'm going to go now back and use the image, which is just a single shot from the Fuji, put them together so we have them this way. And now let's go and zoom in on one here on the side so that to see if our focus falls off on the side or not. We shot this at f16, which is a bit much. That's why we get the vignetting inside, but because I need to get it. Now look, this is not bad. Let's zoom in on the other pictures. I'll take that out, go in here on that one here, and then now we can make a comparison. Looking here and looking there, yes, slightly bigger resolution, of course, but the focus is pretty even. pretty even all around. So we got edge focus on it, which is really good news. So that's good coverage, because when I shoot with, let's say, the 35mm adapters on the Fuji, we start getting edge blurriness on it, and there's no way around it. But when we're dealing with completely, this is medium format all the way, no stepping down 35 or anything like that. So we don't get edging, which is a really good positive thing to have. Okay, so that was edge focus. Let's talk about depth of field focus, see if there's a difference there. All right, so let's take one of these pictures here, go in the foreground here. Okay, zoom out of that one, switch to the other one, zoom in, and look at this. We have a huge difference in focus. So what does this tell us? The Fuji has a greater depth of field in focus. Now in the background, maybe we'll have the same problem. Let's have a look at this, if there's some visual difference. Pick a picture of my daughter when she was 12 years old. And zoom out, switch, zoom in. Do we see a difference? Yeah, a bit sharper. So we get greater depth of field with the Fuji versus the Mamiya. So anyway, that's just to give a rough idea of where we were. We shot this in the end of the day at 16, which is this one here. 16 would be this. Okay, so here we have a picture of a test board which we shot at f16. And we want to look here on the side, to zoom in and to see if how the focus is. The 7 is not so bad, so the edge focus isn't that bad. But the important thing is that all the squares are square, so there's no distortion on it, and that's what counts. That's why when we looked at our picture before, we saw that the edges were still sort of a good acceptable in focus, because that works. At 16, anything under that, we start getting a little failure. All right, enough of this. Let me talk to you about the purpose of this. I'm an architectural photographer, and I want to have gear which is practical for my shooting in architectural photography. This isn't practical for me from the point of view that there is no difference really in perspective distortion, or whether I use a 70mm which ends up giving me a 40, we're talking all medium format at the moment, or just a single 40mm Fuji. If I can go up with a Fuji, just take one picture, as opposed to having to take 6 or 9 pictures of these, stitch them all together, swing around, you saw what we were doing, it's quite complicated. If there's no advantage in that, I have difficulty in using this for architectural photography. Then on top of that, the Fuji has another advantage of it. You can do focus stacking. So in the beginning, if you're shooting at f8 because you don't have enough light or whatever, you can focus stack those things in there immediately. Can you focus stack with this? Yes, you have a great wheel, you can turn this around and stuff like that, but you go nuts trying to figure out exactly the whole thing. It would take, rocket scientists to do it. It's doable. I'm joking, but it's much more complicated. So focus stacking is there for a single lens, no perspective distortion, doesn't matter. The only advantages which we have in that is when we're talking about 28mm, somewhere around that, 19 for sure. I made 2 segments on that. Is DUS worth it or not? Yes or no? And I covered that. So in fact, this is further proof that for architectural photography, you don't want to use DUS for really, unless it is a wide-angle lens. Now, you photographers out there, when I'm looking out there in the sky, in the camera here, you might have a different purpose for this lens. Now, I'm a real estate architect photographer. Yes, but I'm a photographer. I love to shoot everything and anything. If you tell me, listen, this is the setup would be amazing for jewelry shooting, for an example. Wow. Fantastic. Let's try it. If that's the case, I will try it. I'll do a segment on it and show you the profit. Because I'd like to help these guys who make that. They're really wonderful. They go out of their way to make sure that everything is perfect for me. And I want to see if I can help them find really a good purpose for this lens setup with this thing. Later on, they may make one of these for Hasselblad, which is actually nicer because I don't know, I have more Hasselblad lenses, so I could use a medium format with a shift. it gives me 12 degrees. At least I can do 12 degrees shift on one side or the other. This of course has dual axis with an amazing 20 something centis on millis, sorry, on the side. But this is what I have. So let's hear from you. If you've got something, let me know, please. Thank you very much. Goodbye.